Hey everybody, this is Dr. Samantha Luther with SJL Wellness. Excited to start bringing to you guys this series that I'm going to start doing. Everything you could pretty much imagine that chiropractic can help with. I'm very passionate about letting the body heal itself and having a highly functioning nervous system. That way your body is able to function as it should. And so with that, just excited to start bringing you guys all sorts of webinars. Because one of my biggest platform, I guess my biggest platform and my biggest goal is to educate and empower. The second that a client of mine or somebody within the community, I'm able to share with them maybe looking at something a little bit differently than maybe what they've only been accustomed to, that's educating. And with education, you can then make your own decisions. You can then feel like you have a little bit more control of how your life is going, how your family's life is going, how your child's life is going, how their health is doing. And so, like I say, educate and empower. That way, you know, people can kind of take life and like how they live their life into their own hands and maybe not be at the beck and call of somebody else and formulate their own opinions and go from there. So, like I say, Dr. Samantha Luther at SJL Wellness here in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm a pediatric chiropractor. Most people might think pediatric and chiropractic, huh? Yes. Kids are a big passion of mine. It's a different day and age compared to whenever I grew up, and there's a lot more stresses in their lives and a lot more things to adapt to, especially with technology. I, for one, am not a tech fan, and I just don't know if it's quite, I know it's just the way that it's going, but I feel that it kind of doesn't allow kids to be kids and to develop as, you know, as nature kind of intended us to. And with that being said, there can just be too much stress put upon a child's body from the birthing process and even in utero with what mom's going through. Excuse me. And so with that being said, their bodies, all of our bodies, not just kiddos, but kiddos I like to get my hands on just because you can impact them so much. But like our bodies just become so overwhelmed with all this for different stresses that we go through each and every day. So yeah, with that being said, we'll kind of dive into a little bit more into that. But starting out here, like I say, with being a pediatric chiropractor and helping and wanting to help kids as much as I can, because once you give a kid and a child and a baby the means to live life fully uninterrupted, they just seem to flourish better. They probably do better in school. They're more calm and relaxed. They might not have the tantrums. They might not have the social anxieties. And whenever a kid's life is going well and they're happy, guess whose life actually gets better too? It's going to be mom and dad. Parents are overstressed too, just because there's so much going on, because like their kids are stressed, and if the kids are stressed, mom and dad are stressed and they're overwhelmed and they feel pressure and they feel exhausted and they feel, like I say, completely and utterly overwhelmed. And that's just not how I want my friends to live that have kids right now. I don't want, you know, that for my family, my own family one day. And just like, and like I say, all of my clients, I just want them to feel like they're just a little bit more at ease and life is a little bit easier. And so with that being said, we're going to kind of dive in here on the first webinar. We're going to be talking about reflux, colic, and gas in babies. So, and those little peanuts. So I don't have any children of my own, but like after working with so many women and so many clients that bring their kiddos in and they're just, you know, they're exhausted, they're at their wits' end, they don't know what's going on. Their mom gut, their intuition, which is the strongest thing on earth, so please, mothers, never underestimate that. If you feel something is wrong and something just isn't right with your babe, believe it, trust it, own it. Don't let anyone ever tell you any differently. That's kind of a thing that I feel so bad for moms and dads too. I'm not discounting dads here at all. That you might go into a doctor or go into a pediatrician and you're told this to wait it out. They will grow out of it. they aren't the one up in the middle of the night with that screaming, screeching baby. They aren't the one that like mom and dad are handing baby back and forth because mom will get exhausted and then has to hand off to dad and then dad back to mom. They're not the ones that might be missing deadlines with work because they've been up with a fussy baby and they can't sleep, or, you know, just like how a constantly screeching, crying, colicky, gassy baby, it's exhausting. And so whenever it's exhausting on the baby, we think about how uncomfortable they are. It's making mom and dad that much more uncomfortable too, because parents take on the biggest amount of guilt whenever their kid is going through something and they don't know what to do and something hasn't been done, and they literally are going, what in the world do I do? And you feel completely hopeless. You feel like you can't do anything right. You feel horrible because this new little bundle of joy is supposed to be a bundle of joy, and it might not be right now. You love your kiddo and your baby with everything you have, but it's just not what you imagined and not what you thought it would be. And that's heartbreaking to me. That isn't what I feel anyone should go with or have to put up with. And like to be told just to wait it out and they'll grow out of it, that's not a good enough answer for me. If I was in those shoes, then that shouldn't be a good enough answer for you either. So with this video, I hope to educate you and empower you with that. Going back to kind of being told to, and we'll get into neurology, told like, oh, they will just grow it out. I mean, they'll grow out of it. They'll get through that. This time will pass. Many times, whenever, like I say, whenever we get into the neurology, yes, they might eventually grow out of the reflux, the colic, and the gas as a little infant, but that means that some issue hasn't been taken care of. That then might lead into heartburn issues down the road, constipation, mental and brain fog within kids. Because if you can imagine that they're producing so much gas and whatnot as a little peanut, their intestines aren't functioning as they should. And we all know the gut-brain connection. So later on, maybe whenever Junior Sally's in school, like they're having issues with attention, they're having issues with like focusing. That is all connected. So if we don't take care of it even whenever they're younger, and yes, even though they might grow out of it and it's just a phase, that just means that phase is transitioning into another phase later on in their life, that something will pop up that might not have needed to pop up if the issue got addressed in the beginning. Excuse me. So with that being said, with reflux, colic, and gas, there's kind of a sequence of an age group. Even in the beginning, like early on, the baby might have issues with latching and nursing difficulties. We hear about this quite a bit. There's some great, lactation specialists out there that I adore. But many times there's also something going on neurologically there. And whenever we think about the birthing process, there's probably not much more of a stressful process for a kid or for anyone to have to be delivered, even if it's vaginally or even if it's a C-section. That is stressful. And within that, I think they say anywhere from 80 to 90% of it could be a perfectly seemingly wonderful birth. Like butterflies were flapping around and 2 doves started flying around and all of that, and a rainbow all of a sudden happened, and then there was a bunny that was there to hold your baby whenever he first came out. 80 to 90% of the time, there's going to be a misalignment within that upper spine, no matter what, as they're coming out vaginally or if they're getting pulled out with like via C-section. There's always going to be some kind of irritation to that upper cervical spine, and that's where a majority of these problems start. So once again, we'll get into that. But like I say, going back to the sequence of age groups, usually around with the reflux and the colic, usually around that 2-week phase, they're going to become very agitated and rigid. Rigid as in, usually like a baby, they're all cuddly and they kind of snuggle into you. They're going to kind of be stiff. you know, and they're not maybe going to want to lay on their back. Whenever you try to hold them, you know, in the cradle of your arm, they're going to kind of just be really stiff and arch in their back a little bit. You start to see that in that 2-week range. 4 weeks old, not 4 years, 4 weeks old, we start to see straining, like with the gas pains and stuff like that. 6 to 8 weeks, we're about in that 2-month range, we're spitting up. And it might be some projectile spitting up. We've all kind of experienced that with kids before. It's something to be a force to be reckoned with. But they're tight, they're uncomfortable, you can just kind of tell. And like I say, with that projectile spitting up, that just shows that there's something not going on, there's something not quite right. Into that 3 to 4 month range, that's when that colic really starts to flare up. Sleep reduction, they might not be sleeping through the night, and we all know how hard that is. And that's kind of the whole, we're passing them back and forth to mom and dad. Mom's up all night, dad's up all night. They're not able to function the next day as they should, and it just becomes exhausting. And many marriages are even tried during this period of time. And so to be a beacon, to be a help for you, that is just my ultimate goal and passion. And if it's not me, I will help you find another pediatric chiropractor, because you guys don't need to put up with this. And so then many times whenever you might go to a pediatrician, colic and reflux and gas pains are so common. You hear people talk about it all the time, all the new moms, like in moms groups and stuff like that, like, oh my gosh, she's dealing with this, we're dealing with that. It's so common that most people think that it's normal. None of this is normal. You know, none of this has to be normal. Like I say, in our society, it's become so common that it has become the norm. And I kind of want to help any of you that's going through it that thinks that this is just common. Let's break through that and let's get you better. So, to go through, whenever you were to take your baby maybe to a primary care provider, they're going to look at each 3 of these things in 3 different individual segments. They're going to look at reflux as one thing, colic is one thing, gas is one thing. You might then, with the gas, be sent to a GI specialist. With the reflux, you might be sent to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. With the colic, your regular pediatrician. They're not going to look at your baby as a whole and where is this all starting, why is this happening. They might want to give you, you know, like the Zantac, the, you know, the grape water. I like to focus on things from healing from the inside out versus starting in a young baby, starting to put things that from the outside in. And from the moms that I've worked with, they're usually very hesitant to do that as well, because they're unsure. They're like, I don't know, this is a brand new baby. I don't want to start putting things into this child that don't necessarily need to be there. And on that note, we'll talk more about like the 3 T's that we call it, the thoughts, traumas, and toxins. Whenever they've taken samples from like the blood of the umbilical cord, there's like in some study, I can't remember which one it was, over like 200 different toxins within that blood of the umbilical cord. So that baby's already being infiltrated with a bunch of that stuff. So to add more to its system that's already stressed and already taxed, and nervous stress is going on, why would we want to add more? So like I mentioned, versus looking at all 3 of these in 3 different segments, we're going to look at it as one and see what's going on completely with that baby. And on that note, we're kind of hopping to the neurology of it. Like I was mentioning before, the upper cervical spine, it's right there by the head, it's right there by the brain, it's right there by the brain stem. If any of that is shifted or off, or applying any kind of nerve stress to that baby, it's going to cause a trickling effect from there on down. We have a nerve called the vagus nerve, not Las Vegas. Maybe that's where baby was conceived. We won't go there. But the vagus nerve. And it is like one of the master controller nerves of the body. And so it resides right up there, right close to the skull, and within that first cervical vertebrae called the atlas, if you want to Google that. And the vagus nerve, it literally controls almost all of our organs that you would consider automatic. The ones that we don't have to think about, our esophagus, our stomach, our small intestine, our large intestine. What do these have in common with the reflux? It's usually going to be coming from that lower esophagus, upper stomach area. The colic, that's going to just be within the same residing factor, that stomach doesn't want to keep the contents down within, so it's going to cause that to spasm and things are going to come back up. The gas, this large intestine, if the tummy isn't able to regulate the matter, the fecal matter through properly, it's going to produce more gas than what it needs to. And so with that, if the master control or the vagus nerve is being irritated and spasming and being too stressed, it's going to be in a stress mode versus a rest, digest, heal, nutrition, growth mode. And so in the neurology, we have, like I said, I'll post these two different, and I don't have one here with me tonight. I have no idea where it got to, but we have this awesome patient review of systems here, and it goes over the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar spine, even the sacral area down here, of all of the different conditions that can go wrong with a misalignment within the spine. Our brain is the master controller. Everything flows from it down to the body and out to the organs and everything that it needs to help function. And if there's anywhere along that pathway of nerve stress, it's not going to be firing, it's not going to be healing, it's not going to be operating as it should. The other pamphlet that I really wish I had tonight, but I wanted to get this video done, is the gas pedal versus the brake pedal. We have two parts of our nervous system. We have the gas pedal, which I want you to think of stress stuck on, and it's ramping up and the gas is just pressed down full throttle. We all know what that feels like. We are ramming it, we are going. But then we have the brake pedal. And over here, the brake pedal stops things. It slows everything down. It allows the body to relax. Most of the time, whenever we have conditions like reflux, colic, and gas, the gas pedal is going, and gas, yes. The gas pedal is going to be held down. And whenever we, like I mentioned, that is stress stuck on. And whenever that happens, stress stuck on means fight or flight mode. We are in a crisis mode. We are not able to calm down. We are go, go, go. So for instance, thinking and relating this back to you, mom and dad, if baby is up in the middle of the night crying, screaming, fussing, you can't soothe him or her, hubby has a work deadline in the morning, you have 3 more kids in bed that are going to be up in the next 2 hours and you have to get going with them. How do you feel in that moment? You're stressed. You are on high alert. You are overwhelmed completely. So even though this little baby doesn't have any of those life stressors going on, it's actually gone through what we call like the 3 T's that I mentioned before: the thoughts, the traumas, and the toxins. Thoughts. Babies probably don't have much more than other than, hey, I'm hungry, hey, my pants are dirty, and I'm still not feeling very good. That's what it might be, quote unquote, thinking. The traumas, if like we mentioned before, if anyone can imagine a trauma, there's probably not anything more traumatic for the baby and maybe mom than the birthing process. That's just a lot to go through. A lot to go through for a little itty bitty infant to be pushed out of a small enough area like that. It's going to cause some trauma to that spine no matter what. And that's just something that the body's going to remember and hold on to. Toxins, like I mentioned before, like with the umbilical blood, there's already toxins getting into that baby, and we're doing the best that we can. And even with that, if mama had a stressful pregnancy or was on high stress, the hormones that release into her, those things are already kind of imprinted into that baby before they're even born. So that's why it's important just to kind of have a great prenatal team working for you, because a lot of times in your utero, those babies take on a lot of things from the environment that mom's going through too. So going back to like the stress stuck on with these babies, if that is stuck on for them, that's why they're experiencing the reflux. That's why they're experiencing the colic and the gas. If we go in there and apply just like the pressures and do infant adjustment. It's much different than an adult adjustment. We're able then to apply that brake pedal. So you can't have both up here. One's going to be going and turned on, and the other one's going to be calmed back down and off. That's just how we operate. If it's vice versa, that's how it's going to be. So starting with like stress stuck on, bam, we are going, we are in fight or flight, we are high stress, we are overwhelmed, we are go, 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 a lot of nerve tension, a lot of stress. This gas pedal, I mean the brake pedal over here, that is rest, digest, heal, growth, calmness, relaxation, it's not happening. That's why we need to go in there. We need to relieve the pressure off of that vagus nerve to allow that gas pedal to come down and to allow the brake pedal to come back on. So if the brake pedal's on, that's whenever we do have rest. Baby's sleeping. We have digest. They don't have the gas problems anymore. I think I said relaxation. Growth. A lot of times, babies that are smaller or failing to thrive or in lower percentages, many times like they don't have that time to grow. They have other things going on that their body's like, I gotta put way more energy towards this versus growing right now. So once we apply that brake, that's when things can start to happen and change can start to happen. Before we kind of go over what actually reflux colic and gas is, whenever we adjust a baby, I want to be very, very clear on this. We as pediatric chiropractors have intensive training on this. This is nothing like an adult adjustment, not even close. Whenever I address parents on the fact of how to adjust a baby, usually we're working in that upper neck. How I explain it to them, if you were to get out a cold stick of butter and you put your finger right on that stick of butter, that is the amount of pressure. The pressure that we're applying is just enough to put our finger on that cold butter and to finally just let that start to melt. That is the amount of pressure that we are putting into that baby's spine. That is it. So there's not a lot, but with babies, we don't want to go in there and apply any more. They are so tiny and delicate. They don't need what us adults need. They don't have the muscle tension like we do, and they don't have the muscle memory and the years and years of issues that adults have. So like with babies, less is more with them. The less we do, but the amount of correction that we do, the more compounding effects that we can have for them on their system. So I just wanted to be clear. I'm sure a lot of people are like, how in the heck do you adjust a baby? But it's literally go grab a stick of butter right now, put your little middle finger or even your pinky finger is what we use actually. Apply just enough little pressure to let that butter start melting underneath your fingertip. So there's that. But getting into reflux. Reflux, like I say, lower esophagus, upper stomach issue. Whenever I mentioned about this lovely dovely little spine and stuff like that, it's just going to show you what parts of the spine are going to be the area of concern. We're going to talk about that with them. It's going to be that upper back area and the cervical spine up within the neck. With the reflux kids, you're going to really start to notice the arching of the back, the tenseness, the reflux, the spitooning of incredible amounts of liquid out of their little bodies. Then there's also like silent reflux. This was kind of alarming the first time that I heard it, but it's like that gurgling within a baby's throat, and that's just kind of alarming. And when moms are like, I don't know what that is, you don't know what that is, and that's okay. Like, and please just know that like your thoughts, your feelings, and how you feel with your child, you don't know. No one knows your child better than anyone but you. Don't let anyone ever tell you that. Don't let any doctor ever tell you that, even me. You know that baby far better than anybody else on this entire planet, and you know when something's not quite right. So when you hear that, that can be so alarming, and that's when a lot of times moms come in. I'm like, she's like, I've been told like this will just go away. They don't, the baby doesn't do it whenever we're at the pediatrician's office, but I don't know what this is. And then whenever I explain it to him, like, hey, that's just like, it's he or she just doesn't even have the, sorry, my camera likes to shop. But with the gurgling down deep in the throat, that just means that that stuff isn't making its way out. And so that can kind of get lost down in there, and that's not good either. So that's the reflux. With colic, oh, you mamas that have dealt with a colicky baby, we'll get to a story about a couple that came in one time. I hope I don't forget, but there's probably nothing more exhausting than a colicky baby. I honestly can't think of one. It's stressful, it's hard, it's scary, aggravating. It breaks my heart. You see these parents come in and they are exhausted. They're at their wits' end, exhausted, frustrated, sad that this isn't going the way they want. It breaks my heart, but then it gives me hope knowing that they are in my office and I can help. And I like to give people answers. Many times you people, you moms and dads, you're not given answers as to why your child and why your baby is this way. I would almost rather have answers and something not go than not even know why. You know, like, I don't even know if that makes sense right there. But like, having the answers is like, okay, this is why. Okay, this makes sense. So let's make sense of it. Colic, they are pretty much presenting, all over uncomfortable. There's really not a lot that can soothe them. They are crying. I think that the technical term of colic is 3 hours constant a day, 3 days a week for 3 weeks. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's probably a minimum. There's people that this is going on for daily. They will have, my nose is itchy. They will have like a witching hour, and that can be anywhere from 7 to 10 p.m., right in that range, or it can be in the middle of the night, but it's usually right there before bedtime. Ways to kind of help soothe that whenever you're kind of in the heat of the moment, any bouncing that you can do, any bouncing of that baby, that just allows kind of like a natural motion for them that they might have been used to as they were in the womb. It's just that good motion that they like. Oral stimulation, don't be afraid to go ahead and give them a pacifier. It kind of just helps things calm down. And then ways, we just got to get in there and we got to calm that nervous system. With a colicky baby, they're so uncomfortable because everything from their esophagus to their stomach to just everything is so stressed, and there's so much nerve tension that they are so wound tight in their little body that screaming and crying is the only way to get it out. And if I could tell people that looking to them in that upper cervical spine and allowing that gas or that brake pedal to come slamming on to allow that gas pedal to be shut off, they're going to find calmness within their body, and they're going to want to sleep. They're going to want to snuggle. Their body's going to become more relaxed. And as a new mom, I don't care if it is your first or your 10th, there's nothing better than those snuggling phases. And I want you to experience that. And I don't want you to go through this phase. So once again, I'm here to educate and, more importantly, help. Moving on to the gas, it's a different kind of cry. Moms pick up on it. It's just like a really tense cry. So like, if you could imagine whenever we're gassy, kind of have a tense cry too, I'm not gonna lie. But just like in like a tense tummy, tense all throughout the back and the body as well. They're just not happy either. One of the things that I like to encourage clients to do with that one is just like a little tummy massage, and it'll be clockwise. So as you start like on their little abdomen, you just make little tiny circles, and then you move to the next one, almost just like you're on a clock. So we're at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and this will be opposite for you guys, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and we just keep moving around. Just nice, gentle little massages. That just helps like the peristaltic activity within their intestines and helps push things through and kind of just eases things, helps them become just a little bit more calm within that system. But yeah, once again, parents there are thinking, I need to give him the grape water, stuff like that, and that might help produce some calmness with him, but once again, it's not taking necessarily care of the issue. And with those babes, like I mentioned, I'll be posting this and you guys can see all the different conditions. But with reflux, colic, and gas, Babies go through a lot in that birthing process. In those first 4 months to 6 months, they're going to experience, many of them are going to experience this. And once again, many people think that it is common. And so, you know, so if it's that common, it's normal, but it's not. It can be very common, but it doesn't have to be for your baby. I want you to experience the best time. It's the best time for little kiddos and little babies. They're the sweetest little things. But you guys deserve that, and I hope that you feel educated with this. I hope that it brings light to you. I hope I've delivered you. I always think I want to deliver answers, give hope, and provide results. I would love to provide you with results if you guys are going through this. You sure don't have to, and there's help here for you. And if anything, trust that mom gut, that dad gut. It's never wrong. And like I say, don't wait it out. Don't let anyone tell you that it's just a phase and it'll pass. Because if we do just let this phase pass, it's going to lead on to something else later on. And I just want the best for your child. I want the best for you, because healthy kids equals healthy mommies and happy mommies and daddies, and it just leads to greater families. And that's what our country, I think, deserves and needs. We're all in a wonderful, wonderful place here. But yeah, I'm just here to help. And one little side story to finish this up with. I had one client, and like, hashtag mom life. I'm like a dog mom right now, but my passion is kids and mamas and stuff like that. But this mom comes in, colicky baby, and I do this, and I don't even have children, but like hair up, no makeup, maybe have spit up on the shirt. Pants might have been on right side out. I'm not for sure. And then like I just look at her and I just want to hold the mom. And colicky baby. We were on like, she was on like week 3 of this, and she was at her wit's end. And we get her in there, and she, you know, she's like, I am so sorry. And we're like, don't apologize. Like, this is your life right now, and don't ever apologize for that. And you know, come 3 weeks later, after we had been working with her son, and the colic had completely subsided, and she's bringing him in for wellness care now. She had on makeup. She had her hair curled. I think she even had on like these beautiful earrings, because I love earrings. And she was a totally different mom. She's a totally different woman. But she's like, I'm less stressed. My baby's happy. I'm happy. I feel good. So to rewind where she was 3 weeks ago to where she is now and how she's feeling now, every mom deserves that. Every single mom deserves that. And every single baby deserves that. Because whenever you're a better baby, mommy can be a better mom, and mom to baby, and it's just a great thing. And so once again, never feel bad for how you feel or how you dress or anything like that, because there's those of us that don't have a colicky baby at home and we still look like that. So hashtag mom life. I love y'all. Dads, we love you too. But if you have any questions, please comment below. I am just excited to start sharing all of this information with you guys. And like I say, I'm here to help. I'm here to educate, and more importantly, empower you with you and your family's health. So if there's anything I can do, you can reach out to me, 402-432-7702. And yeah, and I'll go ahead and post the form here, the review of systems, and the gas brake pedal form. And if you guys have any questions or are needing anything, just let me know. I'm here, and I'm so happy to help. Okay, have a good one. Thanks for listening.